welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be learning how to do the simple knit hygge throw, and I know you're a little zoomed in right now, but I wanted you to be able to see this scrumptious yarn from Red Heart Yarns. It is their hygge. I said hygge at the beginning just because phonetically that's what it looks like, but it is pronounced hygge. It is the simple knit hygge throw pattern, and this pattern is perfect for somebody who is a novice knitter or someone who has literally never picked up knitting needles before. You're totally going to be able to do this, I assure you. I'm going to walk you through every single step, and then down in the description you're going to be able to find links to the free throw size pattern and then a direct link where you can access the PDF file for $7.50, and it will have sizes from baby blanket size all the way to king size. So all the sizes you would need to make. And it'll have all that information. But today I'm basically going to teach you how to do this stockinette. That's what it's called. It's just basically a combination of knit and purl stitches, with the knit being displayed on the right side of the work, and then these purl stitches, these little squiggly lines, being displayed on the wrong side of the work. So to get started, all you're going to need are a pair of circular needles, and these are my favorite pair. I really prefer bamboo. I know some people are metal or aluminum only, but I prefer the bamboo. I tend to have a little bit more of a loose tension when I knit, so it helps to keep stuff secure on the needles. So it's just a US size 15 or 10 millimeter set of circular knitting needles. And I will also link these down below. You can pop over to Amazon and pick you up a pair if you so desire. And then I would typically use the hygge yarn, but I don't have any extra on hand for this little swatch tutorial. So I'm just using some yarn that was comparable in size for today's tutorial. But I will link hygge down below, and you can check out the colors that Red Heart Yarns offers. I used the kind of blushing pink color. So without further ado, we are going to dive right into today's tutorial. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is cast on. And I'm going to go a little bit slower just for anyone who has never knit before or is just really brand new to knitting. So if you're more of an advanced knitter, I'll put a timestamp where you can skip ahead and just see the stockinette if you need to be reminded on how to do that. But if you're just discovering this and you do know how to knit and you just want access to the pattern, head down to the description and click over to those links, and you can get started on your own simple knit hygge throw. Okay, so in the pattern on the blog for the throw, I tell you exactly how many stitches you need to cast on. And for the throw size, you would need to cast on 113. Now, I'm not going to cast on 113 because I'm just going to make a small swatch, because regardless of how many I cast on, I can still teach you how to do this. So I'm just going to cast on just a small number. And typically, whenever you're getting ready to do a longtail cast on, which is what this is called, you kind of want to stretch your arms out to the width of the item you're making and then add a little bit extra, and that's usually about the right amount for a longtail cast on. So I'm going to do a smaller swatch, and I'm just going to pull out, about that much. Make a slip stitch, and then make sure that your tail is in the front of your work and your working yarn is to the back. We're going to grab our knitting needle, and we're going to, secure that to the knitting needle. And then we're going to cast on. Now, the way I taught my daughters, who are 9 and 7, or sorry, 6, she'll be 7 in a couple weeks. It's like you hold your hand in like a little gun shape, and you take with your tail in the front and your working yarn in the back, you're going to kind of put your fingers through and grab those like that. And so we've got the working yarn and the tail kind of in this triangle shape, if you will. Okay. So then, trying to make sure I've got things out of the way so you can see. So then it's just like this. You're going to go under and around. And if you can hear a little one screaming, it's my 2 toddlers laughing and cracking up at one another in their bedroom. They're supposed to be napping, but they're playing. That's okay. So it's real simple. You just go under and kind of around, grabbing that one and then just pulling it right back through, and then pull that tight. And just try to make sure that after you cast on each one, if you're a beginner, that you're kind of pulling things tight so it's not like jagged or loose. So I'm going to do it 2 more times slow. Under, around and through, and then under, around and through. So really, really simple. Okay. Now, once you get cast on however many you need, that's when we start working the pattern. So I'll just show you how quickly you can start going once you get the hang of the cast on. And if you're making the throw size, you've got 113 opportunities to get that cast on perfect. So I would recommend, if you've never knit before, go ahead and make yourself just a small little swatch so you can get a feel, and just cast on however many you want. It doesn't matter. There's not really a multiple in this particular pattern. Just cast on however many you want, and just get a feel for casting it on, working the stockinette, and then binding it off. Okay. So now that we've got a few stitches cast on to our needle, we're going to take the other end and working the row 1, this would be considered the right side. So all we're going to do is we're going to knit every single stitch. So I go into this first one, and here's a little tip. To secure this tail nice and into the work, I take the working yarn and the tail and I wrap it, come around and slide that stitch off, and I pull that tight. And this helps, I only do that for that very first stitch. That helps to secure that tail into the work so it doesn't like come undone and slide out. So, whoops, I got those too close to the edge. So it's just a knit stitch. A knit stitch is you insert your needle, okay, take this working yarn, wrap it around, bring that needle to the front and slide it off. So insert your needle, wrap the working yarn around, slide the needle, look at that, slide the needle back to the front, and then slide the stitch off. Insert your needle, wrap it around, slide it to the front, and then slide the stitch off. So really simple. And once you get the hang of the knitting stitch, you will find yourself working quickly because you kind of develop a rhythm for exactly how everybody kind of has their own rhythm and their own pace or beat, if you will, that they knit at. And I think that's one reason why knitting is so therapeutic, is because there is a rhythm and emotion to it. So again, these last 4 stitches, let's go slow. It's just an insert your needle, wrap the working yarn, slide that needle around and slide that stitch off. Insert your needle, wrap your working yarn, slide it up to the front and slide the stitch off. Insert, wrap, slide it off. Insert, wrap, and slide it off. So that is the right side of the work, and we knit the right side always. Now we're going to turn. So on the wrong side of the work, these are all purl stitches, and purl stitches are very, very simple. Basically what we're doing is, instead of pulling the yarn from like behind like that, this yarn stays in the front and we're working in the front space rather than back here. And let me show you what I mean. So we're going to kind of work underneath the yarn. The yarn's going to stay in the front of the work. We're going to slide our needle front ways rather than back, okay? Slide it in the front, take the yarn and we're going to wrap around this needle. We're always wrapping around our right needle. So we're going to take this yarn, wrap it around that front, and slide to the back and slide the stitch off. And then keep your yarn in the front. Go to the front to purl, take your yarn, wrap it around, and then just slide it right off. And we're purling all these stitches. I'm going to do a couple fast just so you can see what it looks like. So when you're working in those larger numbers, like the throw that would have 113 stitches, you're going to get lots and lots and lots of good practice. And so if you really want to get into knitting, especially now that we're at the end of the year and you have a whole new year coming, knitting and purling a stockinette is so perfect for getting purling and knitting stitches down so that you can kind of branch out and maybe even try a pattern like my honey sweater pattern that will be coming out this Friday. So let's do these last ones slowly. So it's just a purl, insert, wrap it around, insert, wrap it around. And then remember, we did the tail here on that very first row. So we just want to be sure we go under both. We're going to treat those like they're one stitch, which they are. And you do that, and then whenever you pull it out, you just pull that a little tighter and it secures that tail nice and neat in there. So as you can see, we've got those gorgeous little V's that everybody loves in knitting. So let's knit this row together. We're going to do it one more time. So remember, you just insert, wrap in the back, and this is our right side, the side that shows it to everybody. Just insert, like pushing in and then wrapping and pulling it around. So really, really simple. Those boys, they are just cracking up. They're so funny how they like to get each other to laugh. So really simple. Just like so. And that's it. And we just do those knits all the way across. And I like to kind of straighten up my work, make sure things are looking good. And then we turn and we're going to purl this back row. And then I'm going to show you how to bind off, which is really simple. So remember, we keep the yarn in the front and we slide in and we're going to the left rather than this way, okay? So we take our yarn and we wrap, we just slide. Insert to purl, wrap, slide it off. Really simple. And like I said, even if you're making one of the baby blankets, you're going to have enough stitches to practice that you're going to get a really good feel for how to do these knits and purls. And once you master knitting and purling, there's really not a whole lot of patterns you can't manage to do because knitting and purling is like primarily what majority of knitting patterns are made up of, with the occasional, slip in a stitch or something like that. But you could just learn these two and only ever know those two, and that'd be all you need to know. It's up to you. Okay, so we're going to pretend like, oh, we're done, we're with our blanket, and now we need to get these stitches off. And this is really, really simple, okay? Don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to go slow. So we're going to bind off with our knitting stitches here. So what we're going to do is we're going to knit the first stitch, okay? Knit the second stitch, And then we're going to take this one and we're going to go like this. We're going to pull it up and, oops, I'm trying to go slow, up and over that stitch like that. So we've just bound off one stitch. That stitch is closed and no longer open. So knit the next stitch and then go over here to this first one, reach under there, grab it and pull it up and over that stitch. And now we've bound off the second stitch. Reach in, knit, then take this and pull it up and over to bind it off. And this is one reason why I recommend like the bamboo needles, is because there's less slipperiness than if you have the aluminum or metal ones. I just prefer these because there's more of a grip to the wood. So you just keep knitting and then binding off, just taking that one and pulling it up and over. Just like that. Really simple once you get the hang of it. And if you don't want to use the needle and you just want to use your finger, you can totally do that too. Just grab it and pull it off. Sometimes, depending on the size of needles or the yarn that I'm using, I do it this way because it's faster. But you just try to play around with it and do what works for you. That's why I recommend making just a small stockinette swatch so you could kind of see like what do you want to do. And then for this last one, oh, I don't have any scissors in here, but for this last one, all you would do is you would wrap that working yarn, and this is where it gets kind of funky, but just go like that, and then you would pull your tail through and it would be tight. And that is basically all you have to know how to do the simple knit hygge throw. You cast on, you work your knits and purls, knits on the right side, purls on the wrong side, and then bind off. And the hygge yarn, I recommend you block afterwards because the ends tend to curl. And blocking, that's really simple. You can take a steam iron and not touch the actual yarn, but just kind of hover over it just to kind of loosen up those fibers. And then you can take a heavy book, or you can take some pins if you have pins, and kind of pin it down to the carpet, pin it down to the top of your bed, pin it down to mats if you have mats, like those little foam mats. Just pin it down and let it fully dry, and then those stitches will just beautifully take shape for you. So that is it for today's pattern video. Again, everything is linked down below. Please like this video and subscribe and turn on bell notifications. I am on a new upload schedule of Monday through Friday. Everything typically goes live at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, unless YouTube uploads are not being my friend. But I really hope you enjoy this. Share it with your friends. That helps me out so much. I know there's so many incredible makers all over the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have any problems, please email me at yarnhookneedles@gmail.com, and I will do my best to help you, or place it down in the comments and I will do my best to filter through and help you. Again, thank you so much. Hope you have a great day and have fun making the simple knit hygge throw.